This is the Well Body Podcast with your host, Renee, the place where everyday women learn how to stop running on empty, reset their energy, nourish their bodies, and feel strong again. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Well Body Podcast. Today we are starting something I wanted to do for a long time, and that's a full series on gut health, because if you've been anywhere near social media lately, you would think gut health is the answer to absolutely everything. Bloating, gut health. Hormones, gut health. Anxiety, gut health. Weight gain, gut health. Skin, gut health. And while there's truth in that, yes, there's also a lot of noise and fear-based messaging, restriction culture, dressed up as healing, and an overwhelming amount of information. So today we're slowing this right down, okay? And this episode is your foundation. No detoxes, no supplement stacks, no elimination protocols, just clarity. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand what gut health actually means, why it's not just about bloating, how modern life is quietly disrupting it, and why doing more is often making women feel worse. So let's begin. When people say gut health, most women immediately think digestion, right? Do I feel bloated? Am I constipated? Do I react to foods? But gut health is much bigger than that. There are 4 core pillars that make up what we call gut health. Number 1, the most important part, is the microbiome. Inside your large intestine lives an entire ecosystem of microorganisms, trillions of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and microbes. And that might sound gross and disgusting and scary, but you're actually meant to have them. In fact, you are more microbial than human in terms of cell count. And these microbes will help you to break down fiber and resistant starch, produce short-chain fatty acids that actually reduce inflammation. They create certain B vitamins and vitamin K, influence estrogen metabolism, which is really important for hormonal women. They train and regulate your immune system, and they communicate directly with your brain via the gut-brain axis. And this is why gut health impacts mood, immunity, hormones, and energy. So you're not just feeding yourself when you eat, you're actually feeding a whole ecosystem inside your body. And I think that's pretty cool. And like any ecosystem, it thrives on diversity and stability, not chaos. Number 2, when it comes to gut health, is digestion. So digestion is the process of mechanically and chemically breaking down food. This starts in your mouth, then chewing matters, and saliva matters. Then stomach acid breaks proteins apart, bile emulsifies fats, enzymes break down carbohydrates. If any part of this chain is compromised, stress, low stomach acid, rushing meals, chronic dieting, absorption actually suffers. So you can eat the most nutrient-dense meal in the world, but if digestion isn't functioning well, you won't absorb what you need. And here's something women don't hear enough. Stress directly reduces digestive capacity. If your nervous system is in fight or flight, digestion is not the priority, safety is. So if you're chronically stressed all the time and you're in that fight or flight, you're going to probably find that when you eat a meal, it feels really heavy and it's hard to kind of digest, and you always feel a bit after eating something. And this is because when your body is in fight or flight, its priority is not to digest food. Its priority is to keep you alive, okay? And so it's going to keep you alert, keep you on high alert if there's something that's, a threat or attack. And so digestion kind of shuts off because the priority right now is not to digest. So this is a massive reason as to why environment and how you cope with stress and how you build resilience makes a massive impact on your digestion and your gut health. All right, number 3, when it comes to gut health, is the gut lining. Your intestinal lining is one thick cell. One cell. It is a selective barrier. Its job is to let nutrients into your bloodstream and keep pathogens, toxins, and undigested food particles out. When that lining becomes irritated or inflamed through chronic stress, alcohol, infections, ultra-processed food diets, certain medications, or underfueling, it becomes more permeable. And when that happens, inflammation can increase systematically, which is why gut dysfunction can show up as skin issues, brain fog, fatigue, joint pain, hormonal imbalances, even if your digestion seems fine. So again, this is a massive reason as to why eating nutrition that is going to nourish the gut microbiome can make a massive difference as to how you feel within your body, not just your mood, but how your skin feels, how you think, the energy you have and the fatigue that you're suffering with. Even joint pain, chronic joint pain can be a massive reflection of your gut, especially if you've done nothing to injure yourself. Like if you've picked up the washing and you've hurt your lower back, that could be inflammation in the body. It's not necessarily like you've done a major injury. You know what I mean? So we need to look at the gut lining as being a really important part of gut health, because this is where the whole term leaky gut syndrome can come into play as well, which wreaks havoc on our health and energy also. Then the fourth part of gut health is motility. Motility is the movement of food through your digestive tract. This is not glamorous, all right, but it matters deeply, so you have a deeper understanding as to what's going on. You should be having regular formed bowel movements, not rabbit pellets, not once every 4 days, and not urgent loose stools daily. Motility is driven by adequate food intake, fiber diversity, hydration, movement, and, of course, a regulated nervous system. Sluggish motility is incredibly common in women who undereat, overtrain, live in chronic stress, or constantly diet, or eat a diet that is really high in ultra-processed foods. So gut health is not one thing. It is digestion, it is microbiome balance, it is the gut lining integrity, and it is motility working together. So the reason why gut health is not just about bloating, because bloating gets all the attention, and the reason why a lot of women tend to fall into this kind of, goal around wanting to improve their gut health is because they feel like they're bloated all the time. But some women with poor gut health don't actually bloat at all. Instead, they feel chronically tired, flat in their training, constantly anxious, reactive to stress, prone to getting sick, struggling with hormonal symptoms, and also inflamed despite eating quote unquote clean. So gut health is not just about how your stomach looks at 6 p.m. It is about how resilient your body actually is. Your gut and your immune system are deeply intertwined, and about 70% of your immune cells live around your gut. Your gut bacteria also influence estrogen metabolism, meaning they impact PMS, heavy periods, and also hormone clearance. And your gut talks to your brain through the vagus nerve. So when your gut is stressed, your mood can be too. This is why we cannot isolate gut health to digestion alone. And we need to look at the other symptoms that we may be feeling as a symptom of our gut health. So modern life is quietly wreaking havoc on our guts as well. And this part is really important because most women blame just one food. Oh, it must be gluten. It must be dairy. It must be the FODMAPs. Sometimes specific foods matter, yes, and this is where individuality comes into it. Like, for example, I had a client who was struggling with chickpeas and eating chickpeas, and so we decided that we needed to reduce the amount of chickpeas that were showing up in her week, even though she loved them, to help with the gas that was coming with it. However, her body was also adjusting to increasing the amount of fiber that she had started eating. Water intake needed to be improved as well to help with that fiber digestion and the body processing more fiber. But also after a while, the body actually got used to the chickpeas. And I find this a real common one with a lot of people actually that aren't used to eating legumes. They find the chickpeas can be a bit of a gas, wreak a bit of havoc on the old gas, like really stinky farts, and like totally normal in some cases. If it's not causing you chronic pain or constipation, generally it's okay and it's just your body's adjusting, but also just making sure that other factors are coming into play as well. So yes, sometimes specific foods matter, like 1 or 2 things. When it comes to gluten, most people that claim to be gluten-free aren't actually intolerant to gluten. They generally are chronically stressed, have poor gut health, or it could even be a case of the quality of the food that they are eating is not as great. Some of the gluten-free products on the market are terribly, processed, and a lot more processed than the gluten products are. So it tends to be a case-by-case basis, and we have one food in a food group and we blame the whole food group. So it's not specifically just about food, but lifestyle is probably one of the major factors. Chronic stress, it's a huge one. Like I said, you're in that fight or flight. Your body's job is not to digest food, it's to keep you alive. eating on the run and not being mindful. So like scoffing back food in the car when you're driving, or eating whilst scrolling, or eating whilst, busy doing everything else, sitting at your desk and eating as well. This is all wreaking havoc on our gut. Scrolling while eating is a huge one. Your mind is so elsewhere and it's not connected to the food that you're eating. Constant use of caffeine to stay energized, underfueling and not eating enough. And when I say not eating enough, I mean not eating enough nutrient-dense foods. Not eating enough by, let's say your day looks like a scone for breakfast, a banana for a snack, and then you have dinner later. Like, that's not eating enough at all in terms of nutrient-dense foods. That might be eating well and truly enough in terms of caloric intake, but that is not eating enough in terms of nutrients, okay? So underfueling with good nutrients, and also high-intensity training on low calories, antibiotics without rebuilding, okay? So antibiotics has been just frivolously handed out for common colds and coughs and minor flus that, could be recovered from if we just had a bit of patience. But too much antibiotics is actually going to wreak havoc on your gut. Now, there's a place for it for sure, right? It can be a life-saving medicine, especially if someone had a chronic infection. But what's actually happening with the constant use of antibiotics is their guts and their microbiome is becoming resistant to it. And this isn't a good thing if you actually needed it to save your life. So without rebuilding your gut microbiome after having antibiotics, this can play a massive part into why your gut health isn't the greatest. Ultra-processed foods and replacing fiber diversity. So if you're constantly relying on easy, low-calorie processed meals, this is not going to be great for your gut health. It's so important that we are not just looking at the food and we're looking at things that are just more than the food, right? I also just want to be clear that your body isn't failing you, right? Your body's always communicating with you. It's responding intelligently to the environment you're giving it. So sometimes when we have symptoms of, fatigue and poor digestion, or we're not getting the symptoms of bloating, but we're just feeling all the other things I mentioned, we need to look at everything that's going on. We need to look at our environment. We need to look at our habits. We need to look at what we're doing and what we need to change to slowly start to improve, okay? The wellness industry too has kind of convinced women that healing equals adding more probiotics, more powders, more elimination, more restriction, more gut resets, more protocols, more this, more that, more this, more that. Your microbiome actually thrives on consistency, diversity, adequate food, sleep, the most important, stress regulation, and time. So some probiotics are helpful, yes. Some supplements can be appropriate, but nothing beats food. Food is medicine. When we pile things on without understanding their foundation, you can actually create more chaos. And the most powerful gut support is often boring, right? And that's eating enough protein and fiber daily, include plant diversity, chew your food, walk after meals, sleep properly, regulate stress, and strength train consistently. This is not flashy, but it works. And I guess what sells is the pretty supplement in the pretty bottle and the influencer trying to tell you that this powder changed her life. What's actually going to make a long-term sustainable change is the boring stuff. And I mean, the boring stuff is hard, right? It requires you to cook food. It requires you to think more. It requires you to maybe reach out to a nutritionist for help. It requires you to do a little bit more than you're used to. But here's the truth. Convenience is slowly killing us. Convenience is just everywhere now to the point where it's really playing a massive part as to why we are so unhealthy in the West. Like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's it's everywhere. And these diseases, as the science shows us, can be prevented starting in our 30s by changing our lifestyle, changing our habits, and not just going, oh, whatever, it's just old age and poo-pooing it. It's not just old age. This is years upon years of you not listening to your body and you not trying to reach out for help and making the change. And I know it's not always easy for everyone because it's not always available for everyone and the information is not always there at your fingertips, but I encourage you to learn and I encourage you to reach out for help so that you can learn and you can start to implement these beautiful habits with your food and your movement and lifestyle so that you have a better gut. You have a healthier gut. You have more diverse microbes, which is going to it's going to have a major positive impact on the rest of your life and the rest of your health. arthritis can be somewhat prevented through better gut health and through better nutrition. But we need to start as young as we possibly can. And we need to look at this as not a diet, not a aesthetic thing, not something where we're being restrictive and we're trying to look a certain way, but we're looking at this as this is our lifestyle. Okay? It's so important that we start to look at these things as longevity tools and things that are going to help us to keep us alive longer and living a great quality life and not spending time in and out of doctor's appointments because something's going on with this organ, something's going on with my blood pressure, something's going on with this and that, and I've got all these aches and these pains. If we have these tools at our fingertips, which we know work, we need to make sure that we are trying our best to implement them into our daily lives. Now, that doesn't mean being perfect. That just means being somewhat consistent to the best that you possibly can and being open to change and open to doing things slightly different to maybe how you are doing them so that you live a healthy life. If this episode helped you to understand gut health in a new way, share it with someone who's overwhelmed by conflicting advice. And as we move through this series, remember, you don't need to fix your gut. You need to support it consistently. You don't need to go and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on all these gut supplements and powders. The best fuel and the best medicine you can get is from the food that you eat. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited for this new series, and I look forward to having you listen in on the next episode. If your gut health is something you're wanting to improve this year, why not look at the show notes below and download my free gut health guide to get started on improving your gut health and see how just making small changes can improve your energy, your overall health, and your quality of life. Check the show notes below and download that link. It's free. It's for you. I've created it for you, my listeners. And if you want further help from that guide, don't be shy to reach out and ask me for extra help. I'm here to support you. I'm here to support your family. And I'm here to help you understand the most important parts of being healthy without any fluff, without any BS, just evidence-based advice that is easy for you to digest, literally. Thanks for listening to the Well Body Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review or share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can find more support, resources, and information on my website at www.beyondthebody.co. Until next time, I look forward to having you in the next episode.